many of you have a Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube account and you log onto it more than 5 times a day? So many of us are guilty to this. Now here's another question. How many of you still read the newspaper or watch CNN, or instead revert to social networks to get your latest buzz on the news? As you can see, social networks has evolved into a mainstream for our society. It's a great way for us to connect with distant family and friends. It's also good for businesses to sell a product. Some even use social networks for blogging purposes. For these various reasons, social networking is relevant to just about anyone. However, when we get to the point to where our lives revolve around social networks, this sparks a red flag. We have a problem. Social networks impact our lives negatively. So that's why today I'm going to talk about why we shouldn't use social networks as much as we do. For one, social networks impact our lives negatively. Also, I'm going to talk about how lessening the amount of time we use on social networks will mean that we'll increase our focus on other things. And finally, using less of social networks will better our lifestyles. We need to first understand how social networks affects us. When we spend so much time reading tweets and on social networks, we're not being able to spend as much time doing other more important things, our priorities, our daily tasks that we need to get done. According to Jay Baer, 22% of Americans use social networks several times per day. That's a lot of our day. How much of that same time do we spend doing other activities? I guarantee you the list isn't that long. Social networks is a direct target of a lack of sleep and not finishing our daily task. We're not set up to multitask. Also, using social networks as much as we do impacts our study skills. A lot of students will have their social profile up in one tab and their studying material on the next and go back and forth between them. When we do this, we're not being as efficient as we can be, and we're not comprehending as much as we should be. According to Nick Fleming, psychologists have deemed the idea that students who use Facebook while studying get exam results of 20% lower than non-users. That's a big percent, especially when it comes down to our grades. In addition, social networks also affect our attention spans. We're not being able to pay attention as long as we used to be able to pay attention for. According to Eric Leamer, social networking is shortening our attention spans and rewiring our brains. We're not thinking like we used to think anymore. I'm sure many of you came to class today and you probably logged on to your social network profile and checked it. And then you probably did the same thing within an hour before that. But we're on campus right now. Our main focus shouldn't be about what someone else is tweeting or what we're reading on Facebook. It should be about school. We should be spending that free time to glance over the notes from the class before. This is why we need to make changes. I'm going to suggest that we limit the usage of our social networks. By using less times, we're going to give ourselves a better chance to succeed. Using less time on social networks means more time spending doing other more important things, our priorities. By doing this, we're going to better ourselves and our community. This will now allow us to hang out with those friends that we're talking to online with. Using social network does decrease our face-to-face interaction. Also, we're going to give ourselves our best chance to get better grades. Now we'll be able to focus on one thing at a time and not try and switch back and forth between two things. I know many of us think that we're able to multitask and we like to believe that we can do it, but we can't. We're not good at this. According to Brian Solis, researchers who study at Stanford stated that those who use several electronic information at once do not pay attention, control their memory, or switch from one job to another, as well as those who perform one task at a time. Yes, there are many ways to use social networks. They're great for business to brand. Also a good way to use our
to offer, and we'll be able to indulge in those great love stories. The possibilities are endless, and the changes are easy to make. We just have to commit to them. So why wait to make these changes? You can start today. Make it a goal to only log onto your social profile for 4 times a day. And then eventually lower that every time. It'll get easier. It only takes determination. You can do it. I'm going to commit to this. I'm only going to use social networks twice a day. And by doing this, I'm going to be able to make my days more productive and get everything that I need done. As you can see, social networks has a strong impact on our generation. Just imagine what the generation to be like.